in another one.
We are. Hello, hello. Welcome to Glasshouse Presents Throwing Stones podcast. We have, well, first of all, how you doing, David?
I am doing pretty well. I am really excited that you got today's guest uh, in here because I'm interested in learning much more about the man and his work.
All right. And that being said, let's invite on Michael Broom.
Ta-da!
Hi.
Hello, hello, Michael.
Hello, hello.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I get um, uh, jealous is the wrong word. I get greedy because Glasshouse Graphics represents so many artists all over the world and a few writers and that sort of thing. So I tended to stack the deck with some of these earlier episodes by bringing Mike Diodato and Joe Bennett and Will Conrad and some of these other folks in. And Chris said, you need to expand your horizons. Well, I, I I run a business that because I represent so many artists, I'm focused on that world. And so there's so many great talents out there that I never even see. So Chris is doing his level best to expand my own knowledge and understanding of what's going on as I get older and more unnecessary in the business. I still represent artists, still do a ton of work, but I am so glad for the opportunity to have folks such as yourself in here because I learn a lot, which means I think that our audience learns a lot. So you being here, much appreciated.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man.
And that being said, so we've known each other since, God, when did Zombie first? We started working for, or well, I started working for Ivan Press, and I was introduced to you through Ivan Press on the Zombie comic book, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, Michael Broom penciled it." Da, da, da.
I,
Was that in like 2007 or eight or something like that?
I drew it in '99 originally for Blackest Heart.
Oh
Right.
wow!
So
And,
yeah,
and
it
I,
was.
I think Steven contacted me, and it was like 2007 or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, when I first, well, first of all, it took me a year to draw the graphic novel, just to pencil the thing in, because what had happened was I was doing independent stuff, really indie stuff for Joe Michael Linsner on these little black and white comics that were on newsprint, really cheap stuff that was nobody was buying, and they were giving away wherever. And I did a couple of stories for them, and Blackest Heart, Sean's company, had done a graphic novel of The Beyond, the Fulci movie, and I was like, oh, so cool. And I contacted them and said, if you ever do another one, you want to do zombie or another book, I'm interested. I sent them some samples of my work and everything, and they got me in on it. And spent a lot. This is this is the '90s, so everything had to be FedEx back and forth, and everything's digital now. But whenever I would draw pages in, sometimes the inker would mess them up, or I'd have to redraw them. It was very, very kind of low budget, and we ran I think 500 of them. And when they went out, that now they're just falling apart. They eventually went back and rescanned everything and redid everything, and now they're released them in nice, colored deluxe versions. But back in the day, it was very, very, very bootleg kind of. But segueing into that, it's kind of funny because I flew to California from Florida. I was living in Orlando at the time, and I flew out here. Really, Orlando.
Mm.
It's hot down there right now.
Yeah, today's actually a good day, but we had some scorchers.
It was 106 in the valley yesterday, so.
Oh, yeah, we didn't hit that high too often.
Anyway, I was living in Orlando and I was doing caricatures and comics and stuff on the side, and I flew out to LA for a Fangoria show back in 2000 or so with Derek and Sean, Steve Romano, and we were selling zombie comics, and that was where I met Greg Nicotero because he came by and got a zombie comic book from me, and later he hired me to do Walking Dead stuff, which was also a comic about zombies done at the same time in black and white that we were doing zombies. So, you know, it's funny how things kind of just sort of coincide all together with.
Right.
But that was kind of one of my first big contacts in the film industry was doing that show and getting to meet. I met Stan Winston, and I met a lot of, you know, effects people and a lot of other, you know, just people that were just hanging around. And at that time, I had done a Fangoria show in Orlando, and it was like a really tiny show. I think Angus Scrimm was there, and like Tom Savini was there, and my friend had gotten a table there, and he said, "Hey, if you want, I'll split it with you. It's $200." He's like, "Keep me $100, and we'll split it, and bring some of your artwork, and you know, I'll bring some of my stuff, and we'll just, you know, both make a little bit of money." They don't allow that anymore these days, but back then it was cool. And our neighbor was Tom Savini. And a guy sitting with him his name was Pat Tantello, who was also an effects guy. And he brought me out here to LA for my first like official effects job, which was like airbrushing. They had built a big, you know, the Paramount logo with the mount. They had built a big like 20-foot Paramount, you know, mountain for this thing in Vegas. And I airbrushed the whole thing, and they flew me to Vegas, and we installed the whole thing, and they had a big, you know, press thing with, you know, people there. I hear that Jim Carrey humped it actually. So I wasn't there for it, but that was my first break into it. And I was like, well, I'm here now. Let me start doing stuff. And I started working at that very same shop, doing little micro budgeted movies that were 500,000, little small indie, you know, horror movies. And the guy who was the effects guy, Roy, was directing at that time. He was doing like music videos, and he directed horror movies and stuff. So, you know, I was working with the guys at his shop, and I was running foam, and I was doing fiberglass molds and painting and wearing the stuff and whatever. So I was really getting kind of a, you know, no holds barred, bare knuckle, you know, effects world style, you know, education in all the effects stuff. You know, I was doing head cast on people. I did Channing Tatum's before they got married. Channing Tatum's wife did her head cast. And one of the guys that was in Spinal Tap did his head cast. So I did, you know, quite a few people for Robert Patrick. I did quite a few people's, you know, head cast back then for little shows. And then I got called by a shop called Amalgamated Dynamics, and they kind of knew some of my sort of comic book work and my artwork. And this is 2004 or so, 2003 or 4. And I was just pencil drawing ideas for, you know, characters, because they said what had happened was their in-house guy had gotten sick and he was in the hospital, and they needed somebody to come in and fill in. And they said, we just want to see a whole buffet of things. We want to see as many ideas as possible to give to the director. And I have worked since then with other like huge directors that like the same approach. They just want to see as many ideas as possible. That's why I kind of like AI now is really sort of taking hold with a lot of producers and stuff, is it gives them a lot of options really fast. Not always good options, but you know, they want to see a bunch of stuff as opposed to kind of, you know, and that's not always the case. Sometimes, like I worked with Seth MacFarlane on the Orville, you know, and he'll draw something. He's got an education. He's got an animation background, so he'll draw something and say, "I want something kind of like this for our guy," and you know, give you some sketches to start with, and you can kind of refine that and massage that a little bit, and you know, kind of build the character based upon an idea that he already has in his mind, which is super helpful too. But you know, I mean, you never know what you're getting into.
Seth is just an embarrassment of riches when it comes to talent. Like that, how did that man get so damn lucky?
I don't know. I mean, I've come to find in this town. I mean, it's there's two things. because I can say since the pandemic, there are people a lot more talented than I am who have packed up and left, or you've just gotten out of the business entirely. And I think two things really kind of help people out, and one of them is tenacity, is just keeping at it. Just I mean, I get up at 3 o'clock and just keep grinding until something goes. If I don't have a job, I'll paint on my own paintings. I'll do oil paintings. I'm doing whatever I can do just to kind of generate art and get
Yeah.
interested in stuff. And secondly, I think it's all about relationships. Because I mean, you go to a party or you meet somebody somewhere or somebody recommends you. I get recommended for jobs all the time. I worked on a movie called R.I.P.D. that was just monsters and stuff. But the dude who recommended me for it was Matt Rose. He sculpted the Predator.
Ah,
He and Steve Wang built the Predator, So, but I mean, I met him on Cabin in the Woods, and something came along, and he's like, "Oh, I know a guy." It's very. I mean, now of course it's gotten a lot bigger, but back in the day, things were a lot smaller, and people kind of knew people, and some shops were closing down, and people were retiring and getting out of the business, and other places were still kind of like, trying to generate crews. You know what I mean? You got when I was on Cabin in the Woods. I mean, they had to go hire out a giant shop to get everybody in there, and I just sat there and drew monsters all day, and there was a phone book full of creature designs of just we want to do some kind of werewolf, or we want to do some kind of ghost, or we need a bunch of ideas,
yeah.
and we just come up with stuff and draw things. So my comic book / caricature background has really kind of helped me. I don't know how many people still draw with a pencil in the film industry, but I'm one of them. I think a lot of things have kind of gone digital, but for me, it's like I can draw 10 things in the time I can do 5 digitally a lot of times, just because my comfort zone is just markers and pens and just kind of knocking ideas. And it helps me to kind of change up materials and stuff as
Right.
well.
Right. And David, it's kind of a like a joke between Michael and I over the years that like every time we talk about a movie, Michael's like, "Oh yeah, I worked on that. Yeah, I worked on
Well,
that."
funny story, actually. Weapons just came out, and I called the guy who had done the makeup stuff for it. I saw the trailer. I'm like, "You didn't call me for this?" He's like, "Yeah, I did." And I was like, "I don't remember that at all." He's like, "Yeah, you're like my first call." And I went and saw the movie. I'm like, "Oh, that looks familiar." Oh, and I went back and looked through all my files from 2 years ago. I'm like, "Oh, I did do some stuff for that." But I've done so much like gore things and people getting beat up and stuff. It just, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes they'll give me, in this case, with the weapons case, they gave me photos of an actor and said, "We want to see like what he looks like beat up, black eyes, and stuff like that." So I'm not gonna ruin the movie for anybody that hasn't seen it, but highly recommended. Uh, but I mean, it's funny to watch something like that and say, "Oh yeah, that looks familiar."
That
Do,
is,
do, do you just do you just get the calls, or do you have a rep out there, or how's it work for you?
No, man, I don't have a rep. I've been out here about 20 years or so, and I've kind of cultivated a little stable of a few people that I work for. I mean, I work for Nicotero and Howard Berger at K&B. I've been working for them since 2006. I was on The Mist with Bernie Wrightson was working on that, so I was working alongside under him because he was like, he's Bernie Wrightson.
yeah.
So
Right.
you know what I mean? I just got lucky and was like, you know, hey, let me try and draw some monsters too. So I had to really step up my game and like try and keep up with the big dog, so to speak. But that was 2006, and I've been working for Greg since then. And Jason Collins, I got to know him because he was working for Rob Hall. That was doing his shop was called Almost Human, and he was doing horror movies and TV and such. He was on Teen Wolf, and they left and started their own business. And I got a call from him for, I think the first thing was like some little demon makeup or something. And I had done stuff with him, and I have a couple of guys on the East Coast I think I recommended from, and Dave Anderson, Cabin in the Woods. His father is Lance Anderson, who did Brandon Lee's makeup on The Crow, comic book movie back in the 90s, amongst a million other things. He's a legendary guy. He was on Carpenter's The Thing, and he did Pet Sematary and a bunch of Wes Craven stuff. Serpent and Rainbow. I mean, Lance Henriksen is legendary. So I've been working for Dave for a number of years too, and a lot of times we just go deep sea fishing together, and he'll say, "Hey, I've got a show, by the way," while we're out on the boat.
So among you and your little
But
group there,
I did a show for him earlier in the year called Monster. That's a new Ryan Murphy show that should be out next month.
Oh, very cool.
But,
so among you and your little group there, it's probably easier to make a list of movies you guys didn't work on.
I've never done a Star Wars before.
There's still time.
Yeah, maybe they have. Well, actually, a friend of mine, Kerry Jones, who's one of the guys at K&B, he was the Wookiee in the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
He does a lot of suit work as well as effects shops and kind of running K&B. He was one of the Predators, and he's done a bunch of like suit stuff as well. But he was in that.
Small list. They didn't do this.
Yeah, I haven't really done that many superhero things. I know there's a couple of guys at Marvel that kind of have that lock, so I don't really get a lot of calls for that sort of stuff. I mean, I think I did some stuff for what was the Agatha TV series? Agatha.
Agatha All Along.
Yeah, I think I did some stuff for that, and I did some stuff for the one with the younger kids that were in the asylum, the X-Men spinoff. I've done a couple of X-Men.
Oh yeah.
I forget what it was.
X-Force?
No, Mutant.
Mutant something?
New Mutants.
New Mutants. Was that it?
Yeah,
okay.
It was New Mutants. Yeah,
I forget it. It had a different name. When I was on it. So I've done a couple of little things like that, sort of peripherally, but I don't really get to do many like superhero suits or stuff.
Chris, why don't you show some of his stuff?
So yeah, you're pretty much like the monster guy.
Yeah, I do a lot of monsters. Yeah,
I'm going to show some stuff from Zombie, but yeah, if you have some of your
oils
to show, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. I should have sent you a copy. David, I should have sent you a copy of my graphic novel. I did a 200-page graphic novel that was kind of just inspired by my own script, big sci-fi thing with monsters and stuff.
Send it along.
Send me your address. One.
You did the mouse one too.
Which one?
The mouse one.
Oh yeah, the Sky Rats.
Yeah. Sky Rats. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that. I did this. I did this print on demand a number of years ago, just for fun. But it's a big. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna blow it up big on my screen. There we go.
That was a long time ago.
So I'm approached by Steven Romano, and he's like, "Yeah, we got this comic book, and it was originally done in black and white, drawn by Michael Broom, and we want to do it in color, and I really like your stuff." And so this is the stuff that I was approached with. He's like, "You're not squeamish, are you?" I'm like, no, not at all. I got no problem. And so, like, the first scenes that I'm, of course, presented with are a woman having a fetus ripped out of her womb.
Yeah.
What was your day like?
Right? Yeah. Let's see here.
Steve Romano, he laid out the whole book. He thumbnailed the whole thing out with his little stickmen and stuff, just to kind of get what he wanted out of it. I just went through and drew it.
And this is based on Lucio Fulci's Zombie, if you're not familiar, David. Famous Italian, one of the godfathers of gore.
It's a good one.
I remember seeing that many years ago. I think several of my friends we were watching Italian horror movies, Suspiria and so forth, all night.
Yeah.
And is this a new page you did up? I can't remember. Or was this an older one? Because I thought you'd done
I don't know.
some new work for
Yeah,
the
I did a
recoloring.
couple, but I don't know.
I
Maybe
think this was one
some
of
of
the
that looks
new.
kind of like me.
Yeah.
That one looks like me.
Oh yeah, this was the very first page I
Mhm.
colored. So good stuff, good memories.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The cover was fun.
It was. Yeah,
Sweet.
you painted that cover, so that was based
Yeah.
off of the actual poster from Zombie, right?
Yeah. I somewhere I got I still have the painting around here somewhere.
Very, very cool. And so you've also worked on a lot of like comic book adjacent properties. You worked on the new uh, Tales from the Crypt,
Creep
right?
show.
Creep Show. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I did a lot. I did a
my
lot of
bad.
the. Yeah, I did a lot. Nicotero did the. He got the rights for Creep Show, and we did four seasons of it. So I did a lot of comic book stuff for that, and we did a lot of sort of like phony ads of different things, and merch for that, of course. And I did the original poster for the first season of it. A whole lot of Creep Show stuff, interstitial. If you watch, there's like comic book shots in the
Hmm.
show. I did a lot of that stuff. I think I did all of it last season, honestly. Of course, Walking Dead's big comic book series and show, and I've done pretty much every one of those. I've done storyboards or some sort of featured zombie on every one of those shows, Dead City and Daryl Dixon and everything else. But
Wow.
I mean,
So you,
they
oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say that they've got the makeup artists have done so many zombies. They've kind of got it down to a science and have things out of the kit. But unless it's like a featured zombie of a certain thing that is different or some kind of original kind of spotlighted zombie, they won't, a lot of times want to see ideas for it.
Very, very cool. So you're predominantly working on you're doing storyboards and character design work nowadays,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, well, I do mostly concept design stuff. I only do storyboards for like my close friends.
Gotcha. Very, very cool. Um, so what do you have? Do you have anything current that you're working on that you can talk about? Or
Hmm. No. Like I say, the closest thing I would say is that Monster is coming out. The Ryan Murphy show is coming out
Hmm.
soon. Greg
What,
Nicotero show, Guts and Glory, is coming out September, I think.
what's the Ryan Murphy show?
Monster.
Monster. Okay.
Yeah, the first season was the second season was Menendez Brothers. The first season was a serial killer. I forget what his name was. But he's doing like every season he's doing like a serial killer thing. This season is going to be Ed Gein.
oh, very, very cool. Awesome. Fantastic.
I'm very,
All
very
right.
curious. And of course, weapons. I worked on weapons. It's just out. But I mean, we had a big lull here for a while with the strikes and there were fires
Hmm.
earlier this year, and people were just kind of sort of getting their feet back from the pandemic. To be honest with you, because I mean, it's been you know really like just up and down with everything, and
Yeah.
we were out for half the year with strikes and stuff.
Right.
So
So how many like little studios, I mean, as special effects studios and stuff, would you say that there actually are in Los
mm,
Angeles?
in Los Angeles,
Or I mean in California. I mean in
well, I
just to
mean, there's a couple that are I know on the East Coast, but here in town, I'd probably say there's 6 or 10, give or take ish. You know what I mean? I
and
mean, there's new people that pop up, and there are a lot of kind of sort of roaming, journeyman makeup artists that will take on a job and then just do it out of the garage, or maybe hire somebody to do stuff. I mean, that's kind of the way like American Horror Story was. It's just like the set makeup artist was hiring out our shop to run the foam and make the molds and do the sculpts and stuff in the shop, and they were just applying on set. So I mean, with like prosthetic sort of effect stuff. It's not really nearly as heavy as it used to be, but you know, a lot of times, I mean, if they can get away with it just doing it out of the kit or something, they're probably going to do it. And now, like, there's a whole cottage industry of just pre-made, you know, injuries or bruises or stuff you could just buy off the shelf and use different times too. But I
Very,
mean, you
very
know,
cool.
I mean, I've been working, you know, just for the same like 3 or 4 people for 20 years now. I was doing a lot of stuff for Rob Hull until he died. He was on Teen Wolf, and I did stuff for Teen Wolf every season. Is that you or me?
Sorry about that. That's me. I apologize. Sorry about that. I will edit
Oh,
that
no worries.
out. Well, very, very cool. That's really, really great stuff to hear. Fantastic. Uh, do you have any questions, David? Or
Oh, I'm just sitting back and listening because I'm learning a lot here because uh, you know we've had guys like Kevin Van Hook on here who's done a lot of visual effects and co-created
Yeah.
Bloodshot and things like that. And then I've always been impressed with his credits, and now I'm hearing yours. It's like, okay, this is another wow for me.
Oh, thank you, man.
Because you see, even companies like mine, you know, we offer visual effects services, but I'm filtering those on to Kevin Van Hook, and then you know we do animation because I'm partners with 2 animation studios in the Philippines.
Nice.
So we've done bits and pieces on some of the big movies, and we've you know packaged a couple of films that have been on Hulu and Netflix. But most of what we deal with are these nimnods that are would-be financiers. Oh, we want you to
Yeah.
do this project, and the money is 2 weeks away, and then
Sure.
it stretches into 8 months, and then you stop. You know, you stop listening to them.
Yeah. Totally.
So when I hear that somebody is actually getting the calls with people who have the money and it's actually happening, it's like, wow, I'm amazed and impressed that you're doing it.
Well, I mean, I've worked with, I've worked with some shysters out here before. You know, I worked with a guy that was a producer, and he went to jail for writing bad checks to people. You know, the movie still came out. It's a little indie horror movie, and I worked with people that have, you know, ripped me off and stuff. But I mean, there's now, of course, everything is so spread out that, you know, they're taking stuff to the UK to film, and for a long time everything was filming in Georgia and stuff. But there's still quite a lot of pre-production houses out here, and even Netflix. I mean, their main offices are downtown. I pass by it every time I drive downtown. But I mean, when I was in Orlando, I mean, I wanted to go work for, back then, the Disney Animation Studios. They had the beautiful animation studios there at MGM, and I went and saw those, and I'm like, you know, surely I could do something here. You know, I got rejected a few times, and I was like, well, I guess that's just not showing them what they want to see. But I mean, when I came to Los Angeles, there was a lot more opportunity because I mean, I moved to Orlando thinking, oh, you know, they got studios there, they're gonna be filming there, and they were filming, like, I think Lewis and Clark was filmed there, and they were filming the Swamp Thing TV series in the '90s, and they just never quite really got the ball rolling the way they should have. You know, I mean, a lot of it's, you know, just politics. You know, I mean, we lost a lot of work because there were tax credits going in Georgia where you could fly your whole crew to Georgia and save money. And I'm like, how's that gonna work out? And you know, I mean, I know, like, New Orleans for a long time, like, New Orleans was, you know, we were doing everything there, New Orleans or Canada. And I'll be the first to say New Orleans has got a lot of great, you know, production value. You know, you have stuff that only New Orleans has. You know, have a lot of, you know, fantastic architecture and swamps and a lot of cool things you just don't have out here.
right.
But they film stuff in California that I mean, did you see the Jeff Bridges show, The Old Man?
I did not. No.
No,
It's
I haven't yet.
it's filmed, you know, probably 40 minutes from here, and it's doubles as Afghanistan in the mountains. and it's just these old kind of rustic mountains over in over where the Manson family ranch was, and they just photoshopped some bigger mountains in the background and did all of it right here.
That's really cool. That's
Oh,
really
and
cool.
I couldn't believe it till somebody told me, because a friend of mine was a prop master on it. I'm like, where are you guys? He's like, oh, we just filmed right down the street from you in Culver City. And I'm like, what?
And I think the Hatchet franchise has a lot to um, give to being filmed in Louisiana
Yeah,
and
yeah.
New Orleans. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very, very rich place to film it.
Well, they shot Beyond there back in the 80s,
Yeah.
But those guys were stealing shots. They were just like not getting permits and stealing things, and they pretended they only spoke Italian and just did it on the sly a lot of times. But that certainly happened a lot too. But I mean, I just went to a gallery and dropped off a couple of paintings in Pasadena, and it's crazy to go to Pasadena because so many things were filmed there. All the Back to the Future stuff was filmed there, and the restaurant from the Terminator was there. And I had to go to the art store. I parked right next to the building that's the castle in Puppet Master.
That's cool.
And I'm like,
Very cool.
what? So it's just everywhere you turn, there's some kind of crazy thing. And Eddie Van Halen's house where they grew up is over there. It's just like, it's hysterical to just drive around and see the Doc Brown Back to the Future house.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, I remember hearing Arnold talk about like the Terminator being made and how it was very much a low budget movie.
Oh
And
yeah,
he's like, Cameron would be like, all right, I want you to go over there and punch the window out of that car. And then, how are you drive? And
yeah.
they didn't have a permit. It was somebody else's car. They didn't know
Yeah.
whose it was.
I'm dropping my wife off for work. I passed by the gun shop, which is now a car dealership that he goes into and kills Dick Miller, just over in the valley, but it's funny to me that there's not more attention paid to that film history. I mean, I went with my wife to Salem a couple of times, and it's like they filmed Hocus Pocus there. And it's like they've got a whole cottage industry of kids that grew up watching that on the Disney Channel that want to go see the house and the school from Hocus Pocus, which is right there in Salem. And I'm like, that movie bombed hard when it came out. Nobody really, saw that when it came out. It was a Bette Midler movie, kind of bombed. But again, over in the course of 30 years, kids grew up watching it on Halloween on the Disney Channel, and now there's a whole bunch of young girls in their 20s and 30s that are like, oh my gosh, it's so and so's house, and we want to go see this.
It was enough to inspire a sequel that was on
yeah, exactly. But just that one little movie there versus like here, it's like you don't even tell anybody all the crazy they tear down stuff here all the time. And I'm just like, they want to tear down Marilyn Monroe's house over in Brentwood, and I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Make that a museum.
Make that a museum, exactly. But
so you were talking about dropping off paintings. Do you have a fine art presence in your town or where you live, or like in museums? Or
presence might be a strong word. I made friends with a guy who was showing it at a little small gallery that is right next to the house from the original John Carpenter's Halloween. And she opened up a little Halloween themed gallery, and they have tours around where they walk around and show all the sites from John Carpenter's Halloween in Pasadena. And every month or two she has a themed show, and if I can get stuff done in time, I generally will go bring her a piece or two. And sometimes they sell, sometimes they don't sell. But I mean, I sell a lot of stuff off the internet. Instagram has a crazy reach on things, but I mean, every once in a while I get a call for something, and I'll show some work someplace. Oil paintings last forever, and it's as opposed to an industry where a lot of things, 98% of your work will never get seen or is not allowed to be seen. It's kind of nice to be able to kind of do something of your own and not have somebody tell you That's not what we're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have an auction site or a gallery site that you have stuff on, or?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've got my little online shop, and I just Instagram and Facebook. You know what I mean?
Just give us
So,
the info so we can hype it here.
well, if you go to Instagram at Michael Broom Art, and I post, if I have time, almost every day, and I have a big cartel, which is Things in the Dark, bigcartel.com, and I have a couple prints available, my book, of course, and
So it's
original art pieces.
at Michael Broom Art.
Yep, on Instagram.
Oh, on Instagram. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but you're on my Facebook, so you're
Yes.
seeing most of the same stuff.
Chris, did you have any of his movie work up here? Any of his paintings that you could show?
We did not get a chance. Do you have any of that laying around, Mike, that you could show?
Phew, laying around. Yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
This is fascinating stuff. I'm so glad Michael could take the time today to do this.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Fantastic guy. I keep telling him, one of these days, man, we're going to do something else together. One of these days.
I think that would be an excellent idea, and if the Kickstarters we're doing continue to build, that may be the case. We could do them there.
Fantastic.
This is the painting I did for the CREEPSHOW
Sweet.
box art. And I added some extra stuff in the background.
Love
But this is the DVD cover and the Blu-ray cover. But
Very nice.
I did that
Very, very
a
cool.
number of years ago. And this is one of the things I'm working on right now. It's 4 Headless Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Halloween.
Did you say you have a book out of all your stuff?
I have a graphic novel out.
Oh, I thought maybe you had an art book of your paintings and such.
I had print on demanded some little sketchbooks a couple years ago for a convention, but I don't really have it all collected everywhere. If I'm being honest, I have so much crazy stuff. It'd take me a month just to go through and pick enough things to fill it up with.
Your studio is. Oh, go ahead.
If that opportunity arises, maybe Chris should put together a book that we could Kickstarter for you.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. So
You should absolutely do
that. Possibility. We've done an art book for Mike Diodato, one for Will Conrad is coming
Nice.
up, and so forth. So we're looking at what else we can do to because we can sell stuff, I guess, into the direct sales market and so forth. But for immediacy purposes, there's more money to be made on Kickstarter, at least to cover your production costs.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, so that's something that we're looking seriously at, and I've been doing Kickstarters for 8 years now, and we've been doing maybe 2 a year, and we're going to step that up to one every 6 weeks or so, because I have somebody aboard now who can help handle that.
Oh,
so we're trying a number of things.
Well, if you got that many, definitely keep me in mind, because I've got a whole bunch of art. I'll just give me a page count and sort of a direction, and I'll find stuff to fill it up with.
All right. Well, Chris and I will talk about that, and we'll see about making that happen, because your stuff is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
David and I always, I always kid with him that he's the man of like 1,000 tasks. The man has like 47 things going at any given time.
Which is why I always look flustered.
I know the feeling.
Even if I'm organized, I look flustered. It's awful, but it happens, and it's better than the alternative, not being busy enough, and
exactly
wondering where your next dollar's coming from.
Yeah, totally true.
Yeah,
I mean, everything. in my industry here, just like all seemingly got greenlit at once, and then it was like I'm getting the phone's ringing off the hook, and I'm like,
Mhm.
so I mean, 2 months ago it was nothing happening. So, but
And it's very much true that in the comic book industry and in your industry
mm,
that if you want to get work, word of mouth is
oh yeah,
and knowing people and
yeah,
building relationships is
Yeah.
yeah,
key.
yeah,
And it's not knowing who you know, it's who knows you.
exactly. I say
That's
that all the
always the
time.
case. Well, it's like there was a period of time I was trying to get work with Simon and Schuster,
Mm,
one of the biggest book publishers out there. And many years ago, we did some work with them, and that editor left, and then that dried up.
yeah,
And I tried for 2 years sending stuff, never getting an answer. Then one day I get a call from art director of the children's book division and said, I was talking to the art director at DreamWorks Publishing, and I told him a big problem that I have that I need to solve. And he said, oh, call Dave Campetti at Glass House. He'll know exactly how to solve that problem for you.
nice.
And uh, we started doing literally thousands of pages of art a year for their various graphic novels. Like 2 years ago, we did over 8,000 pages in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, and books Spirited, Goddess Girls, Heroes in Training, Super Turbo, Dragon Kingdom of Renly,
Nice.
a whole bunch of others. And then just as the pandemic was hitting, I get a call again from Simon and Schuster saying, it just occurred to me you were the writer of Hero Alliance all those years ago. I loved Hero Alliance. Would you write some projects for us? Wait, the pandemic is hitting us, and
Yeah,
I'm not going anywhere.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure. So I filled up all my pandemic time writing over 1,800 pages of graphic novels.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
My
so
graphic novel, um, the book showed up at my apartment. I had 500 books show up at my apartment the month we had lockdown in April. And I couldn't go
oh,
out in any conventions. I couldn't go. A friend of mine was like, "You should do a signing here." Couldn't go out and do anything. I was trying to sell it online. It was, it's horrible.
it was a terrible time to get out there to do anything. But at least for me, it was a good time to be doing the work. The comic
Yeah,
publishers were shutting down because
yep,
Diamond had shut down and wasn't
yeah,
paying
yeah,
anybody
yeah, yeah.
and all that. But companies like Simon and Schuster, or ones that had deeper pockets, were planning further ahead,
Yeah,
and so their work continued.
yeah,
Simon and Schuster, we were doing stuff. Well, this is going to be in our third quarter of next year. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
then we're good.
Well, I
And
started oil painting hard during the pandemic because, I was working from home on a couple of projects, but everything kind of dried up. And I was like, well, I pulled out my little tackle box of oil paints and been sitting in there for 10 years and blew the dust off the top and started kind of just working up a few things. And I cut up a few panels of masonite and found some old canvases and started just kind of working some things and, started selling.
well, the fact that you've got the get up and go to do all that, when a lot of people were looking at the pandemic and their get up and go just got up and went, and
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
didn't do anything with their time that
That's
was
true.
constructive.
Well, I did catch up on some TV shows I've been meaning to watch for a number of years. So I'm as guilty as the rest, but
Yeah.
Well, you are definitely one of the hardest working people that I know in your industry, Mike. So
yeah. Just trying to keep the rent paid and keep the lights on. If I just get up every day and grind, things will work out. Somehow, the phone will ring, or I've come to find whenever I started on my own personal project. The other day, it was like I literally had my easel set up, I got my paints all ready, and then somebody called me. So it
Well,
seems like,
that's the ticket. Your work dries up. You open that tackle box. You
yeah,
start to go like this, and then the phone will ring.
yep, yeah. As soon as you start working on your own thing, a lot of times somebody, in the universe will say, "Let's get him off that."
Yeah.
is there a retirement pasture for old Hollywood SFX guys?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's an old folks home over there that some people have moved off to, but not unless they've made it, made money and made it big.
Yeah,
To grind
same way
like
with
everybody
comics.
else.
Yeah,
I'm looking just to move back east somewhere and just do some paintings and just live someplace quiet with a lot of trees and have a
I heard
dog.
parts outside Orlando are nice.
Yeah, I no no no
Wouldn't
no more
wouldn't mind
Florida
you.
for me.
Okay.
Headed to Florida
Uh,
because I lived most of my life I lived in Fort Lauderdale or Miami. I lived in Fort Myers as a kid. I lived in I lived in Orlando for 10, 12 years, something like that. I mean, I grew up in Panama City, Destin. My dad worked on a fishing boat, so I mean, I don't want to go to Florida.
I get that. We were my wife and I lived in Wheeling, West Virginia, and decided enough of this. And I came down here for a business meeting, liked the area, started looking at houses, and okay, we've been here 14 plus years now.
Yeah. Well, I used to tell people, it's a nice place to visit, but it's a hard place to live. I mean, I was selling art when I was in Orlando. Actually, there's a little place on International Drive back then called Cafe Tutu Tango, and
It's
they
still
would.
there.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go in there and paint sometimes, and they'd feed me, and I'd sell paintings occasionally. I mean, stuff would move out of there, but I love that place.
I had dinner there a couple of years ago with some friends, but
Yeah.
not had a chance to hit there again. But in any case, thank you so much for making the time to do this today.
Thanks
This
for
has
letting
been
me get on early. I appreciate it.
this has
Yes.
been enjoyable and informative, and I think we need to do that book with you.
Cool. Well, get my contact information from that fella and stay in touch for certain.
All right.
Absolutely.
So
And great getting to see you face to face finally, Mike.
You too. You too.
All right,
I'm
man.
on Facebook and Instagram and everything. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. So
Yes. Very easy to
all right.
find. Michael Broom. All right. Thank you so much. And you have a great rest of your day, man.
thanks, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So, how do you feel about a portfolio review?
Yeah, we can do that. And let me see if this works.
All right.
Oh, didn't
So
work.
much for that.
I had it working just the other day, just a little bit ago. All right. So let's go to.
All right. Let's see what we have.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pull this up real big. Um, this is an artist that I've been having some conversations with, and told him I would be happy to put some of his work up on our show, so that we could review. Let me do a quick flip through of what we have. Okay, yeah. So uh, this guy is one of hundreds of guys that we get interesting samples from, but there's always a little something that keeps him from reaching the next step. Like I look at this, and this is a nice enough design. Um, the fact that it's pretty perfectly balanced means there's no sense of energy to it. John Buscema had told me that um, never have a character straight up in the middle, uh, just standing there. Have them leaning, have them doing something that topples the balance of the image, so there's a sense of movement to it. So having the cape be like wings, okay, maybe that has value, but what are you doing to add some energy to it? Putting the Kirby crackle coming out from four different places, all right, but it's two on the top and two in the middle. It was balanced. She is perfectly posed right between two circles on the floor, perfectly balanced. Um, it's just nothing to give that that sense of energy, that sense of excitement. Plus, once you start studying it, you realize just how many things are odd, like how tiny her hands are.
Right.
It's like, all right, where's that going? Well, why are her breasts 3 times the size of her hands? Uh, uh, thing, Things like that. So proportion things are off. So that makes me say, all right, you know, one of those close but no cigar kind of things. Uh,
Right.
Nice enough at first glance, but it could be uh, a lot more energetic, and the proportions could be better. Certainly, the hands could be bigger. So the fact that it's not as strong as it can be holds it back. So part of it, or most of it, honestly, isn't in the actual drawing. It's in the thinking, the underdrawing, uh, coming up with the best possible energetic composition and um, getting the proportions better. And
Right.
if it were that, this could go from an okay pinup cover, splash page, whatever, to one that could be terrific. And I'd rather have terrific because there are so many folks out there that are just okay and they're not getting work.
Right.
Certainly not getting enough work to pay the bills. All right, so he tackled our Wonder Woman test plot, and I got into this thinking, okay, this is one of these at first glance, it's sort of okay. I love the thinking of the little kid is getting their uh, things signed by Wonder Woman, and she's dressed in a Wonder Woman Halloween costume. Though I look at the kid, it's like, okay, has this artist really seen a child at that age? That doesn't look like a real human child.
Right.
Uh, Kind of reminds me like when John Byrne tried to draw babies in some issue. I forget what the book was. It's like,
Yep.
whoa, really?
Yep.
That's
In the bathtub. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
That's a famous issue.
yeah, and then you're getting all this stuff. It's just one kid. It's not really as in the people just aren't as involved around her as I had imagined it from the script. They're all sort of uh, just kind of standing around, but it doesn't feel like comics art. It feels more like Mad Magazine caricature. The way he's drawing the faces and some of the heads don't fit the bodies in the background. And then you get to the characters on the far left background, and what the heck happened? Are they midgets? Because the eye line of sight is these characters' waists in like the medium background.
Right.
So if you carry that back into that straight perspective, we ought to be seeing their waists all the way back, because that's an easy way to cheat and get a decent perspective. But they are so low, and yet the street doesn't dip, so they are like midgets compared to the rest of the panel. So there's a lot wrong here, and if you stand Wonder Woman up, I think she's 5 feet of leg.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah,
Very, very long
a lot
legs.
that doesn't work. Um, okay, so you've got panel two is pretty well okay. They're seeing the meteor come down. Um, I am a uh, I guess it's all right the way she's turning her head and looking up, and he didn't do a shot far enough back that we could see the all the hair whipping about, but he did something with um, one set of strands of hair that make that work. Um, Wonder Woman flying up in the next shot, okay, that is that is pretty good. Um, and he did it correctly where if a character is going out of the panel, it should be into the next panel that you want the reader to see. So he did that fine. Wonder Woman also suffers from the tiny hands thing with her right hand that's clenched. I'm not sure why that's happening. Um, so we get to the next page where we are supposed to see Wonder Woman trying to stop the meteor, and it comes crashing to the ground. All right, the meteor's smaller than what I thought it was going to be, but I guess this works. I'm a little confused that how she could be caught this way. This way, this is the giant ball, but by the time it hits, she's managed to turn her body under it because she's climbing out this way. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that happens. And if she's able to make a turn like that, it'd be good to see how she turned and what the struggle was to do that. He completely missed the story point of what was happening here. The big meteor comes crashing down. She's unable to stop it. She's pinned beneath it. Something is emanating from the meteor, possesses her, which is why this thing happens with her eyes in the third panel. She's still trapped under it, so, which is why Supergirl spots her trapped and flies down to get her out of it, not realizing that she's been possessed by this thing. So now Wonder Woman just is already out. Supergirl flies down to say, "Hey, you coming for Netflix and chill?" I mean, what I don't know why she's coming down because the story point is missing. All right, she helps pull Wonder Woman out because what's going on? Why couldn't Wonder Woman get herself out? And that's the point there of, okay, she's been being controlled or possessed by whatever essence was inside the meteor. So if we lose the story point, then the whole rest of it is kind of missed as you progress.
Right.
All right, so it's a fight scene, but the way he has staged it, the first panel here, her, I don't know, Supergirl's hit, but it's just an odd construction of the panel. Again, hands too small. It was like, okay, I want to focus on Supergirl's boobs, I guess was the reason to pose it this way. Panel 2 is okay. I kind of expected that to be bigger. 3 kind of works. 4 sort of works. Panel 5 missed the point of the plot completely, where it was supposed to be from Superman's point of view. So you see his hand reaching out, touching her shoulder, and she's turning toward the reader. In other words, turning toward Superman to see who it is. But the reader doesn't see him yet because Superman is supposed to be revealed in the next page. And so now it happens on this page, but we've lost the big reveal. Wonder Woman's punched him, but man, she's got tiny hands. Superman recovers there in panel 2. Panel 3, I'm not quite getting it. It's like he doesn't seem to be dynamic enough. She just seems to be there as if you want to go on a date. I mean, her body language.
I think she's holding her wrist because she hurt her hand punching him. I think that's what that is.
All right. Which could be a valid way of doing it, but posing the legs the way he did kind of loses that.
Right.
And those knees are really low on the leg.
Yes.
We're still dealing with proportion problems. And then one, two, three, panel 4, we've got the close up on our eyes, which is fine, but we've lost a lot of the drama that could be there in that on that page. So everything seemed to be about, let's call it half of what it should have been. Uh, the storytelling is about halfway to where it should be. He should be following the plots he's being given more closely, unless an editor has told him to do something different with it. Uh, the thinking behind the layouts needs to be better. Certainly, the proportions and stuff need to be a lot better. There needs to be uh, a stronger, more consistent thing with the faces. We seem to be missing a lot with the faces, quite honestly. Um, so, well, that's where we are. Um, this is a guy that I would take back, or I would take to him what I have just said, and then I wouldn't give him another test plot. I would say, okay, take what you've learned, draw it again.
Right.
And I would hope that he would do that, because I get so many artists that, well, I'm bored by that, I'm going to do the next thing. But I'm thinking, if you were training to be a doctor, training to be a surgeon, well, you screwed up that surgery. Well, I don't want to do it again. I want to do a different surgery. It's like, well, you didn't master surgery in the first place. Let's
Right. Right.
get it right first. So I would hope that this artist would do more of that, moving on into the future.
And I see a recurring thing with a lot of the portfolios that are sent to you.
Yeah.
And it seems as though the artists are so in their mind, they're ready, right? They're excited. They want to send you their stuff, but they lack the technical artistic ability to be able to convincingly draw out the scenes or realistic anatomy, foreshortening, all that stuff. And so they take the easy shot, and it
There,
ends up looking
yeah,
less than.
yeah. There's quite a bit of that. There's also things like um, the artist. There's a group of artists, especially down in Brazil, that really don't want to master the storytelling because it takes work. And so they get into this thing where they're doing pinups. And often they're just girly pinups, sometimes not, but they all tend to look the same. They all tend to look like they're finding the same sexy babe photos online, and then drawing a pinup of a character, half dressed, and say, oh, well, that's Mary Jane, or that's Black Cat, or whatever, and it's just a generic face and a generic body and a generic this and a generic pose, and they're complimenting one another for the great drawing they did, and maybe the drawings are pretty darn good, but there's no thinking there. They're not doing anything to build their craft. They're not even doing the most basic thing of, oh, I'm being hired to do pinups. Well, how about I'll do a pinup figure in the middle of a story? So what is going around them to make it an interesting shot? And
Right.
then so that they're telling the story in one panel, which is basically what a good cover often is. And so by being unwilling to go and take even that step, uh, they lose a lot of ground, lose a lot of opportunity there, because they aren't um, improving on their craft any. and
Exactly.
that is something that I find disappointing.
It is because there is a multitude of material out there, free material, tutorials, you name it, that they can draw upon to expand their knowledge and to test their art skills.
And there's things like my blog and all the reviews that I do here and on Facebook and so forth. So there are so many places they can learn, yet they choose not to, and that is disappointing to me.
It
Uh,
is.
so I'm trying to move some images around here to uh, now. Um, I think that's it for the portfolio part today, isn't it?
Yes.
Um, Let me see if I can find something else I wanted uh, to bring up here. Just give me one moment. Um, of course, I can't find it now that I want it. Um, okay, well, we can do it this way. Oh, that's not it. How did I? How did that come up? Let me see if
Is
I can
it
get rid of it.
is it
There
that
we
one?
go. There we go. All right, so this is the cover that we just completed with a previous guest, Silvio Spati, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. The first, the first image uh, we got from colorist Rovell, and this is for a book called Hot Wings that we are going to be kickstarting in a few weeks. And Silvio gave us the line art, which Ravel, who colored the interiors, did this. I got it, and I thought I like the coloring on the figure, but there were a few things that were wrong, or at least wrong in my opinion. I thought that doing the entire town in this off blue and this, I don't know, pinkish red thing made it look, made it feel candy colored. And then I looked at the angel herself and thought, oh no, wait, that translucent shredded gown that she's in is supposed to be white, not bluish. And oh, what happened to the straps for the shoes she's wearing? All of the character designs and all the interiors of the book had straps on them. So I went and looked at the line art file, and it's like, wait, they're on the line art file. Why aren't they in the colors? And I went back into the files and discovered, oops, even though I had approved of the line art, the file that actually made it to the colorist was missing that layer.
Ah.
So I had the artist go back. It was a big whoops. Sent it to the colorist. He was perfectly willing to put that in, and then made the gown the more translucent white. And then I said, all right, the background. Um, I want to make the character pop a little more. So I had him reduce the background to like 70%, and then had him put a line back around the top of the wings to make those stay more in the foreground so they didn't get lost once that background got turned into 70%. And I think the result worked. I put this up on social media and I got a lot of feedback, including from a couple of editors. A couple of folks didn't like it. A couple of folks said, oh, you could also do this. You could also do that. Yes, I could probably do about 30 other things with this cover. But the goal wasn't to, uh, nickel and dime it to death, as we say, but to get something solid that was usable, that um, was more along the lines of what the artist and colorist either intended or should have had. And
Right.
the artist was very happy with the result. So that's what we went. And so sometimes it's not getting the best option or the favorite option of a lot of people, but an option that works right now, and then we move on to the next thing. And I'm discovering, or discovered long ago rather, I've seen more of these days, that no matter how right you can be about something and get everything perfect, you can't make everybody happy.
No, you can't. There's like everyone's. You ask 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different opinions.
And many of them are going to be wrong, but by God, they're right for that person. And so I went with this because I thought it was right, and the colorist and the artist agreed with me that this was better than the first option. So that's what we went with, and I think it'll make a nice cover.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
So, yeah, so that's the sort of thing that's going on here. Uh, this is a project we started talking about on a previous show called Hot Wings. It will, I hope, be our biggest Kickstarter ever. Designed very much for Kickstarter with the sexy gals and angels and female demons and uh, terrible conspiracy plots and all this kind of political intrigue and all this goodness. But oh my gosh, the artwork is so nice, and we'll preview some of that possibly on our next show.
All right. Yeah, I think this is going to do really well. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of the art.
All right. In fact, I have a cover thing for you that we're going to be talking about once we're off here.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So I think we did a show that ran over 2 hours. So for this show, I think we will run it a little short to give everything some cosmic balance.
Absolutely.
We'll probably be back to our usual 90-minute show next time.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Much appreciated for watching. And please remember to like, comment, and share. That helps us out. We are trying to build our channel. So please remember to do that. And everybody have a great...
They should send portfolios our way.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. If you would like to send a portfolio, you can send that to david@glasshousegraphics.com. Or if you would rather, you can send it to me at ghthrowingstones@glasshouse.com. And either way, that will get in front of David, and we can review your portfolio online if you so choose.
All right. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next Saturday.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Back to the streets.